There's something deeply honest about running. It strips everything away. Distractions, ego, noise. And what you're left with is the truth. Your breath, your will, your thoughts. Every step essentially becomes a conversation with yourself. Who are you? Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when it hurts? When you want to quit? When it's hard? That's why I've always believed running is more than exercise. It's a litmus test. It's a mirror, a teacher. It is a metaphor for life. Because like life, every run tells a different story. Some days, they're smooth and effortless. Others, man, they feel heavy. Like the world is pressing down on your shoulders. And every terrain you cross, like a mentor, shines a spotlight on a lesson you'll eventually need to learn. So let's take a look. First, hills. Hills symbolize the challenges that shape you. When you hit a hill or an incline, everything changes. The incline burns, the pace slows, the lungs tighten. This is generally the part where your body starts negotiating. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I don't need to finish this one. But those are the moments you learn what you're made of. Hills in life are just the same. They show up as heartbreak, failure, fear, and discomfort. They ask you who you're going to be when life doesn't go your way. And every time you choose to keep climbing, you're not just getting stronger. You're expanding your capacity. You're proving that pain has purpose and that growth isn't found in the flatlands. Next is soft sand, symbolizing effort without immediate validation or reward. There's nothing quite like running through soft sand, either at the beach or down the street in the desert in Arizona. When you find a piece of land where every step sinks in, every moment feels 3 times as hard. You're working, really working, but it doesn't feel like progress. That's what makes it so frustrating. Can you really do more and get less? But that's also the point. Some seasons of life are just like that. You're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're trying, you're pushing forward. Yet it seems like nothing's changing, like you're standing in place. But the truth is, transformation is happening beneath the surface. Those moments, they help you develop your grit, your patience, your inner strength, your ability to postpone validation, understanding that it's coming. The finish line isn't always in sight, but it is there. And when you look back, you'll realize the energy exhausted pushing through, it wasn't wasted. Next are the blind turns and the tunnels, symbolizing our ability to trust what cannot be seen. Every runner eventually encounters a tunnel of some sort. That stretch of darkness where you can't see the end, the light disappears, the temp drops. You're not sure how long it goes or what's on the other side, but you keep moving. In life, the tunnel shows up as uncertainty, as a new chapter, a leap of faith, a bridge to something better, a hard decision without a clear outcome, and it demands something powerful from you. Not necessarily certainty, but trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that movement, even in the dark, is progress. Next, we have the sun and the shade, symbolizing exposure and recovery, which is very relevant being in the Southwest, right? Some runs are ruthless. The sun beats down, there's no cover, there's no mercy. Every step drains you. That's life under pressure, right? When the weight is constant, the stakes feel high, you feel exposed, vulnerable. But these are the seasons when resilience is built. Then suddenly, you find shade, a stretch of cool, a patch of relief. And you realize something important. Recovery isn't retreat. It's part of the rhythm. That beautiful rhythm of life. You're not weak for stepping into the shade, you're wise. Because the truth is, life gives you both. It gives you the heat to test you and the shade to restore you. Both are necessary, both imperative, both make you stronger. Next, the side of the road, symbolizing comfort, control, and choosing more. There are stretches when you're running on the shoulder of a paved road. We can all imagine what that looks like. Most of us have done it. Flat, smooth, predictable. It's easier. It's easier than off-road terrain or, heavy inclines up mountains and hills. There's no resistance. Your body settles into a very manageable rhythm. And in my mind, that's what life feels like in your comfort zone. You know the steps, you're in control, and for a while that feels good, necessary even. But you stay there too long, and perhaps you stop growing at the rate you could. You stop reaching. The side of the road is safe. But the question is it where the breakthroughs happen? It's where we cruise, no doubt. But is it where we evolve? Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is step off that paved shoulder and take the path with more challenge, more adversity. Because that route just might be where the real transformation lives. Next, we have pause, regroup, walk, and then run. Symbolizing the ability to know yourself. Honoring the seasons of life, micro and macro. There will be seasons of life where you can't keep up your usual pace, right? For a multitude of reasons. Injury, illness, exhaustion. We've all been there. Your legs feel heavy, breath shortens, body says, no, not today. Well, I'm going to reference one of my favorite quotes by Jim Quick. A truly revolutionary idea, in my opinion. He says, when all you can give is 40%, 40% becomes your 100%. Giving all you can give, even if it's less than you gave yesterday, is a victory. It should be celebrated. Maybe you do have to stop, or walk, or collect yourself before continuing the pursuit, right? Depending on the day's circumstances. Not every day is going to be amazing, right? But hear this, there is no weakness in that slowing down, right? There's strength in listening to what your body's telling you, in honoring the rhythm of your journey. Because as I alluded to previously, life is not meant to be a constant sprint. It can't be a constant sprint. Sometimes you have to pause and dial it back, recalibrate. Sometimes you have to collect yourself, breathe, walk, and then slowly turn that walk into a run. Taking care of yourself in the present moment with the long-term journey in mind, even if that means dial it back, is not weakness. It is strength. Next, we have the speed with which you're running, which to me symbolizes aligning your pace with purpose. Not every run can be fast, right? Yeah, if you're running a 100-meter sprint, you explode out of the gate. Everything you've got, all on the table. But if you're running 100 miles, that same approach would be disastrous. It would burn you out before you began. Different races require different strategies, and life is no different. There are periods of life where you need to move fast. You have to take the risk, jump in, right? Go all out. And then there are times where the goal is endurance. You're looking at the horizon where it's about consistency, composure, and patience. Where your pace is slower not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Your speed should match your purpose. How fast you move should reflect where you're going. Not necessarily how bad you want it or don't want it in the moment, but can you sustain that pace? Is it enabling you to pursue it effectively? Because what matters, particularly in life, is not the speed of every step, it's that you were intentional, that you made adjustments, that you were aligned as you finished. Lastly, we have you versus you, symbolizing the only race that really matters. At some point, you realize this journey isn't about the runner to your left or right. It's not about being faster than anyone. It's not about comparison. It's about you and your pace and your path and your progress. Because everyone else is running a different race. Different terrains, different starting points, different backgrounds, different destinations. And trying to copy someone else's stride will only throw you off your rhythm. You have your goal. You have your pace. And your only real competition is the version of you from yesterday. Which makes the question, can you show up today just a little better? Can you improve by 1% in focus, in effort, in discipline? That's where real greatness is born. Not in comparing yourself to the world, but in being the best for your world. In staying locked into your vision, regardless of the noise and the speed, regardless of the shadows of those around you. It's always been you versus you. And that's not only enough, it is the ticket to excellence. What all this means to me is that it's not just a run, it's who you're becoming. Running, like life, is a series of choices. Do I show up today? Do I push a little harder? Do I keep going when it hurts? Every step tells a story, and while the terrain may change, sand, pavement, hills, or shade, the question remains the same. Will you keep moving forward? Will you utilize the pieces around you in whatever the context, whatever the situation, to put one foot in front of the other? Because that's what this is all about. Not being the fastest, not always having the answers, but having the courage to run your race. To meet yourself on the road, in the dark or in the light. To keep going. Again, this is not just about running. This is about life. And you're becoming stronger with every single step. What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Your World Within. I'm Eddie Pinero. I hope you enjoyed that segment comparing running to life. So many crossovers, so many things we learn, not only in running, but athletics in totality, that allow us to create a blueprint and framework for life. The most important things I've learned have either been running or rowing or lifting, physically demanding things that teach me how to live life in other playing fields. And this next segment is a similar metaphor, talking about the overcoming of life's storms. And quite literally how when you move into a storm and you feel the wind and the rain and you can't see the sun and everything's dark, that sort of tension and in a way fear is mitigated by the fact that you know it's going to pass. You know when it clears, the sun will be there, the skies will be blue, life will go on, perhaps better than it was before the storm hit. That same thing is true for the adversity we face in other facets of life. And so this reminder hopefully paints that picture. It's called storms. The thing about storms is that they all have one thing in common: they pass. And once gone, they leave you as a person different than who you were before you stepped in. Before you found yourself consumed by its adverse conditions. They are disruptors, breaking down and shaking up, but not for the sake of chaos itself. No, storms break us down so that we can build again, so that we can find within ourselves the power and the strength that simply remain tucked away during those sunny days. And so walking up to the storm, what you'll immediately notice is a break from the normal, the everyday, an obvious detachment from the standards by which you had been living. But don't be fooled into thinking those dark clouds and heavy winds have nothing of value for you. Don't be tricked into thinking the rain will consume all the good in life. Because at the end of the day, it's that very rain that washes away the excess and leaves the meaningful. We don't grow despite the storms. We grow because of the storms. So compose yourself and embrace what's around you. Amidst the storm, you might realize that you don't want some of the things you thought you did. You might realize that life contains variables that make it incredibly unpredictable. And when old plans meet new variables, sometimes we learn that the path we were walking down requires adjustment. It needs change. Not because we were wrong, the dream was wrong, or the path was wrong, but because life is an experiment. Experiments are meant to test hypotheses and support exploration. Without the storm, sure, everything seemed fine. Everything was flawless, but in the thick of it, when the variables, the multiplicity of factors present themselves, it often paints a picture for us that we previously weren't able to see. That's okay. Ideal, even. It's life. So when amidst the storm, and presented this new information, this new portrait, pivot. Grow with your understanding and newly acquired knowledge. There's no point in remaining tied to the ideas, the people, and the places that once served you, but have since run their course. Right? Growth is perspective and awareness, and as the storm shakes your foundation, it also hands you a clarity that those blue skies simply could not. So adjust, adapt, and move further into the person you are destined to become. You can't learn that on a sunny day. No, that's what storms are for. And amidst the storm, you might find yourself scared, nervous, unsure. You might even look back and wonder what life would have been like had you not stepped in. Perhaps you're angry with yourself for not navigating around the inclement weather. Maybe you'll find yourself asking, how did I let myself end up in such a situation when there were visual indicators and weather forecasts? People warned me about moments like this, yet here I am. You might find that the drop in temperature is uncomfortable, the rain difficult, the wind annoying. But here's what they don't tell you. There's something innately powerful about proving to yourself that you can move forward despite those things. That when you're scared and step forward anyway, when you're lost but maintain your poise and trust in the process, when you're down but cling to hope, to that light at the end of the tunnel, you emerge with a different understanding of who you are. You end up stronger because you've allowed yourself to become stronger. And you don't get that on the sunny days. No, that's what storms are for. And amidst the storm, you might feel like the sacrifice required in life is more than you want to endure. Maybe even more than you can endure. After all, it's during our trying times that we're forced to make some of our most difficult decisions. We might be forced to let go of some things that had been staples in our lives. That in order to say hello to some things, we must necessarily say goodbye to others. And this hurts. Especially while it's happening, it hurts. But what you're really doing is learning to identify what matters and mitigate the things that don't support that journey. Sometimes storms teach us that growth is not about acquisition and obtaining more. And they show us instead that we've been carrying too much. That we become accustomed to surrounding ourselves with things that no longer elevate or inspire or push us. And the best way to evolve is to move forward with less. So when you see parts of yourself fade away or dissolve, hold your head up. Because when you get to the other side, you just might see that cutting away those things was more liberating than anything you could find or pick up along the way. And we're not taught this lesson on those sunny days. No, that's what storms are for. And amidst the storm, it's quite possible that you'll feel lonely from time to time. Maybe misunderstood. Perhaps like the whole world has everything figured out. They're moving single file through the correct door while you wander around aimlessly. That's not true. No one has all the answers, and everyone has their storms. The question has always been, as far as I'm concerned, what will you make of yours? Because we're always presented with the decision to let our adversity define us or to find something of value in it. The opportunity hidden in plain view. You're never alone in your pain or your distress. Those things are an inevitability tied to the miracle that is life. But what you are is powerful. Powerful enough to learn in your solitude and bring that understanding back out to the world. Powerful enough to let the lessons guide you to something beautiful. Powerful enough to find the meaning underneath the turbulence. We often confuse our times of greatest transformation with setbacks. We often forget that the darkness cannot withstand a single flicker of light, and we can be that light when we trust ourselves. It's a lesson that can't be taught on sunny days. No, that's what storms are for. And that storm, that very thing you want with all your heart to avoid, it's not antithetical to your happiness or your prosperity. No, ultimately, it's how you create those things. The trials and tribulations help us look at life from different angles. They remind us what we are capable of. Show us we can do so much more than we thought, that we have in many cases been accepting a reality that is not our own, that is just the beginning. And so whether you were on the outside looking in, or at this very moment in the heart of chaos, remember, this is making you who you need to be. And sure, it never feels good in the moment. It's never exciting when it's happening. But there will be a point when you look around and see a world unlike the one you stepped away from. One in which you are stronger, bolder, wiser. One in which you have greater clarity and understanding, a better sense of who should be with you and where you are going. It's not despite, but because of the storm that you'll rise from the ashes and from the quote-unquote misfortune to find yourself and your way. All right, so this next segment touches on another simple truth. We've been basically looking at frameworks or blueprints that help us win in one area and translate beautifully to help us win in other areas of life. Well, this next segment touches on another blueprint, another simple truth. The idea that when you start something, you necessarily have to be the student, the fool. One of the hardest things about starting over or pursuing something new is that it's like, man, I got to start from ground zero. I got to be the guy that knows nothing. And that's hard. It's hard for, a million reasons that I'm sure I don't need to explain to you. But the thing I really like about the message coming up is it reminds us that it is the cost of admission. And it's a beautiful thing and something to be proud of because there's courage tied to beginning something new. When the ground beneath us shakes, we crave stability. When the heavens open up and rain pours down, we run for shelter. When life presents us with vagueness, with flashes of possibility, we long for mastery. It's more instinct than anything else. But could it be that that instinct that we run to like moths to a flame is leading us astray, that it doesn't have our best interests at heart? Could it be that we're so worried about protecting and maintaining an acceptable image for the world that we forget to build something internally that's worth protecting? What if that shaking is what brings down the foundations that held us back? What if that rain washes away the limits of yesterday as we evolve into something more? And what if those flashes of possibility require of us not mastery, no, not yet, but a willingness to be the fool? And what if that willingness isn't an unfortunate dead end, but a beginning?
In one of his lectures at the University of Toronto, Jordan Peterson said, "If you are not willing to be a fool, you can't be a master." In the cycle that is self-discovery, that is growth, we have to at some point step into an arena that's foreign to us, that we don't yet understand. We have to be willing to operate with inadequate resources, trusting that, they'll be picked up along the way. And that's a lot to take in. It's painful to know that others are going to have knowledge and skills and competencies that you won't. That you'll willingly inject yourself into the bottom of some hierarchy with nothing more than aspirations. But that willingness is your vehicle. And what's clear is that everyone wants the moon, but very few people have the courage to start constructing that spaceship. Very few have the courage to be the student. That's why our inclination is to quit when we can't snap our fingers and magically be on our way, when we can't leap past that wandering around the unknowns. The reality is, we have to fight, to scrap, to obtain that sense of belonging in a particular competency. And just talking about it brings me back. It's an obstacle that we all face. It's super real to me. I remember being featured on a podcast where the host literally asked me, "Why should I listen to what you have to say?" Right? Like, who are you? Why are you road mapping your journey? Right? I remember fighting for relevance in an area in which, at the time I knew almost nothing about. And I love how Peterson articulates this battle. He says at some point, you'll want to make a change and you'll feel like an imposter. And guess what? You are. But you have to be. You'll ultimately feel worse if you don't do it. That's imposter syndrome. Feeling like a stranger in your own body. And guess what? It's not wrong. It's just a beginning. I like explaining it like jumping into a cold pool. It feels uncomfortable at first. It feels out of place, but then things normalize. They become comfortable. And what's the other option? To fear that minute of discomfort and never jump in? It's what we need to tell ourselves when we want something, but the climb seems too steep, right? That climb is manageable. You'll acclimate. The adversary's pushing beyond that fear of starting anew, taking your limited understanding, bringing it to the base of that mountain, a new Goliath, and looking up with confidence. And the question is, can you be foolish enough to do that? And once you've made that ceiling your next floor, will you be foolish enough to do it again and again and again? And breaking through that fear, knowing that stumbling around for a period of time doesn't kill you, it's required. It's the inability to show weakness or appear vulnerable. That's what chips away at you for a lifetime. If you want more, immerse yourself in that cycle of mastery. Start at the bottom and ascend. And when you approach the top, separate yourself and find another ceiling to chase. Replant a seed. Play the role of the fool again. This is the formula for growth, for prosperity, for fulfillment. This is the pathway to anything of substance. You take your L's, you embrace your critics, you swallow your pride, and move towards a tomorrow that far exceeds today. As your reality changes, your perception changes, the company you keep changes, you'll start to see that what's around you is made by people who are willing to fail and fail often. Our world is one devised by those who could put pride on hold. By those who were humble enough to crawl through the unknown long before they ran anything. Who knew that before they played for any title or championship, they must first play the fool.
And lastly, we'll end with sort of the gel that molds everything together, consistency, and why that is so important regardless of how you feel, what you're doing, how you're doing it. If you want to win, you have to show up every day. When you have energy and you can give it all, or when you're fighting the good fight and have a fraction of what you normally have, if you can find it within yourself to show up every day, to be consistent, to continuously swing the axe at the tree, the compounding you'll get over time is incredible. And ultimately becomes the difference in all of these things, right? So this next segment deals with consistency.
I had a friend recently tell me consistency is more important than intensity. Interesting, I thought, right? Put it in my back pocket and moved on with my day. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how valuable those words are, how necessary. I think because typically my brain associates the acquisition of more with an increase in intensity. It's like you want more, okay, find a way to give more, to be better. That's the equation my brain was familiar with. And while not necessarily wrong, what it can do is diminish the power of showing up. It neglects the compound effect. The reality is that consistency over time becomes intensity. A snowball rolling downhill doesn't just increase in size, it increases in speed. Intensity is second to consistency because consistency creates intensity. Consistency is the material from which everything else is made. And we forget that. Thinking about how much bigger, better, stronger we'd like to be. Why can't I just leap a mile? Well, my friend, it turns out you don't have to. Miles are comprised of single steps. I wanted my run yesterday to be about 3/4 intensity. Decided the goal would be to land just under 8 minutes per mile. 7:59 would put me in a good spot for my plan for the week. But as happens, from time to time, the sun, the heat, my body weren't about it, right? And halfway through the run, I'm a little higher than I wanted to be, averaging about 8:01, 8:02 per mile, a little above my mark. And I thought to myself, you have to be better. You have to make a move right now. You have to find something in there. But did I? Did I have to find anything? Because it turns out I was right on track and didn't see it. What I needed to do was simply hold the 8-minute pace, 8:01. Just hold it. That keeps me in the game. Then we kick it up at the home stretch. And the last sprint will be enough to get my cumulative average down to 7:59 per mile. No miracles here. Forget the intensity. All the world is asking of me is consistency. Show up, step by step. Keep myself in the game. It's amazing that when you're hurting, the mind plays highlight reels of everything you lack, everything you're not doing, right? It's reaching. We get so uncomfortable or impatient that we think we need to perform magic tricks. And it's like, no, keep showing up. Keep yourself in line. The intensity is a derivative of the consistency, and it will make its presence known. So during those first 7 miles, I showed up, I committed, and I held on, right? Understanding the assignment, big picture. Thought only about consistency, staying calm, and then as planned, picked it up at the last mile, hit that goal. See, these little mental games are packed with value. They reinforce bigger picture truths. Show up, put in the work, find your rhythm, and hold. Don't stress yourself out looking at finish lines you have not yet crossed. Don't let the delta between where you are and where you want to be intimidate you. Right? That's precisely the reason people quit and walk away. They get so caught up in where they are not that they forget little steps over time are what bring about change. They don't understand that the snowball is increasing in velocity as well as it rolls down the hill. That by staying focused, their output becomes the avalanche. So when you feel like the world is increased in size and its obstacles in number, know that there is value in holding the 8, the 801, the 802. Know the power of simply getting on base, of getting up again and again and again, of putting yourself in position to succeed. Because your time to sprint will arrive. And when it does, you'll be battle tested and prepared. But the sprint only matters because you stayed steady, stayed consistent throughout, step, step, step. So remember when the rest of the world is talking about the shortcuts, the life hacks, and the secret solutions that will change your reality, they're missing the mark. Because one brick at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time, you're building something that can't be manufactured overnight. You're committing to the process and will ultimately experience that which can only be experienced by those who paid the price. Those who didn't panic or overanalyze, but put one foot in front of the other consistently, every single day.
All right, gang, I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you got some value from it, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments your favorite takeaway, one thing you'll be implementing. I always love to engage down there and see what you guys are up to. In the meantime, have an amazing couple days, and we'll see you on the next episode.